New York, 1970. It's after midnight on a rain-drowned spring evening. We've ducked in to dry off and get warm at P.J. Clark's Saloon near East 55th Street on an empty 3rd Avenue. Clark's? It's a bar from another time, wonderfully trapped in its own sense of nostalgia, all burnished wood and chased mirrors. The walls are littered with Irish flags and other masculine memorabilia. The jukebox is crooning hits by the man seated at a backroom table. The man is Frank Sinatra. He's wearing a dark suit with an impeccable red tie, a pale blue shirt, silver cufflinks. He's drinking Jack Daniels and smoking unfiltered Camels. With him is Danny Levezo, who runs the bar. William B. Williams, the WNEW disc jockey who dubbed Sinatra the chairman of the board. Jilly Rizzo, one of Sinatra's best friends. A couple of beautiful young women. And 2 famous writers, Jimmy Cannon, one of the most well-known boxing columnists of the 20th century, and Pete Hamill, one of the most published New York City journalists of our time. The table is crowded with glasses, ashtrays, bowls of peanuts and pretzels. They're all talking and laughing together. After a minute, Jilly Rizzo gets up to call the women a cab, and the conversation turns to things like Hemingway or Fitzgerald. Who's the worst living American? They wonder if it's Walter O'Malley for moving the Dodgers, or Mitch Miller for being a hack A&R man. They eventually settle on Jake LaMotta, because when he took a dive in the 4th round of his fight against Billy Fox in 1947, he never told his own father what he planned to do. LaMotta's father bet his entire life savings on Jake. They talk of Sugar Ray Robinson, too, until Sinatra excuses himself to use the restroom. When he returns, Billie Holiday's I'm a Fool to Want You is playing on the jukebox, straight out of 1951. 1951 wasn't a good year for Sinatra. It's now almost 2:30 in the morning. He says it's time to go. The men all get up and follow Frank into the night. For them, it was the end of the evening. But for us, it's just the beginning. Welcome to Breaking Walls, episode number 85. My name is James Scully. Tonight on Breaking Walls, we spotlight the radio career of Frank Sinatra. We'll find out how a brash, skinny kid from Hoboken, New Jersey became one of the most popular and influential music artists of the 20th century. He sold more than 150 million records worldwide, won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and used radio to launch it all. If this is your first time listening to Breaking Walls, welcome to the show. You can find this show everywhere you get a podcast and at thewallbreakers.com. Our opening theme song tonight is The Man with the Golden Arm by Elmer Bernstein. It's the title track from an incredible film starring, you guessed it, Frank Sinatra. Does The Man with the Golden Arm feel as hard-boiled to you as it does to me? Give a listen to our 6-part audio drama miniseries called A Man Named Marlowe. It takes place in 1935 Los Angeles and stars Raymond Chandler's famous private detective, Philip Marlowe. It's available in the same feed as this podcast. And be on the lookout for new audio drama coming soon. I hope to have big information to share in the next 2 weeks. It goes with saying, if you've been enjoying Breaking Walls, give a quick iTunes rating and tell a friend or two. Word of mouth will help this show continue its record growth. You may also support these shows and unlock bonus content and other clips for as little as $1 per month at patreon.com/thewallbreakers.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it really is a thrill to present our guest star for the evening, that wonderful singer of songs, the man who is solely responsible for the sale of 18 million bottles of smelling salts in the United States.
Can't stand all this flattery.
That's Swoona Kuna from Pomona.
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
Thank you very much, Dinah, not only for that swell introduction, but also for inviting me once again to the Bird's Seed Eye View Open House.
That's wrong, Eye Open House.
Bird's Eye Open House.
Yes.
And may I tell you that you look rather lovely tonight in that dress, Dinah?
Well, thank you, Frank. It's really nothing. It's just a simple little thing. I got the idea from a magazine, Harper's Bazaar.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, when I look at you in that dress, I get an idea from a magazine myself.
Harper's?
Police Gazette.
It doesn't say Police Gazette on the script.
But really, Dinah, you certainly are pitching in conserving materials for the public.
Well, gee, won't it be wonderful when we don't have to worry about that sort of thing? You know, in the post-war world.
Oh, yes, the post-war world. My spies tell me that automobiles will have such perfect engines you won't have to change the oil. And the houses will be air-conditioned against dust, so you'll never have to change the curtains. And even the post-war babies will be so perfect that you'll never have to change
Frank,
I say something wrong?
Folks. Hello, Frank.
Well, hello, Harry Von Zellers. I live and breathe.
Stop bragging.
Sunday, December 12th, 1915. 415 Monroe Street, Hoboken, New Jersey. We're at the tenement of Natalina, Dolly Garaventa, and Antonio Marty Sinatra. Dolly has just given birth to a baby boy. She's less than 5 feet tall and under 90 pounds. The boy was supposedly over 13 pounds at birth. The doctor called in to help with the delivery had to use forceps. He used them clumsily. He's cut the boy's left cheek, neck, ear, and perforated the newborn's eardrum. These scars and damage will remain for life. The boy is Francis Albert Sinatra. Motionless at first, it was thought he was a stillborn. But acting quickly, Frank's grandmother picked him up and stuck him under the cold water tap. Little Frank wailed out his first song. It was the couple's only child.
One, two, three. Bear, 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 gently bear, bear, bear. A long time ago, way back.
Dolly and Marty were born in Italy. Each emigrated to the United States in the 1900s. They met in New Jersey, fell in love, and eloped on Valentine's Day in 1913. The early part of the 20th century saw a record number of Italians come to the U.S. Italians faced the prejudice all the newest immigrant groups faced before. Class, race, and social divides were prominent. Antonio publicly changed his name to the Irish-sounding Marty O'Brien, becoming a professional boxer. His ruddy complexion and blue eyes helped the ruse. He fought and lost to men like Bull Anderson, Mike Cashman, and young Seeger before retiring due to wrist injuries. Dolly, also blue-eyed, became active in the local Hoboken Democratic Party circles. She used her fluency in various Italian dialects to help translate for immigrants during court proceedings, particularly those pertaining to requests for citizenship. This earned her the respect of local politicians, who made her the area's Democratic Third Ward leader, the first immigrant woman and the first Italian to hold that position. Dolly worked as a midwife and supposedly an abortionist. She was also a civic protester, chaining herself to the city hall in support of women's suffrage in 1919. The Sinatras were also speakeasy owners. The bar they ran was called Marty O'Brien's. Frank later recalled spending time at the bar, working on his homework, and occasionally singing a song on top of the player piano for spare change.
I never wanted for anything, but we did not have an abundance of anything. It was a semi-slum area. It was typical of the middle 20s and the late 20s and through the Depression. And it was pretty rough, but I've read and been told, or rather asked questions concerning gang wars and so on and so forth. Well, there weren't gang wars, but there were beefs and there were battles about position and who should cross the line into where we lived and cross the line into where they lived, you see. And I must say there were many times when I had to go on an errand that I skirted certain areas of the town, you know, because the cry went up, kill the Dago when he comes through the corner of town.
In 1925, there were millions of Ku Klux Klan members in the United States, 40,000 in New Jersey alone. The New Jersey members had public contempt for Italian immigrants. Dolly Sinatra understood that through politics, she could enlist law and government on the side of the Italians in her ward. She dressed Frank elegantly. Kids called him Scarface or Slacksy because of his fancy clothes. He was small, lean, and cocky, quick to fight, with a penchant for being a class clown and an interest in the arts. 2 years later, in 1927, Dolly got Marty a job with the Hoboken Fire Department, and in 1931, the Sinatras bought their own home at 841 Garden Street for $13,400, not a small sum during the Great Depression. Frank continued to sing at the bar for quarters, and in junior high school, he joined the Glee Club. And thanks to radio, he was hearing Rudy Vallee, Dick Powell, Russ Columbo, and the newcomer, Bing Crosby.
I think I'm much more a singer than I am a crooner. In the days of Russ Columbo and Rudy Vallee, I think that they were rightly termed crooners because they had very small, soft voices. They were very good at it, but when Bing came along, he was more of a singer.
Sinatra's musical ear was formed by composers and lyricists like Jerome Kern, Cole Porter, and George Gershwin. He also understood from a young age that no matter what he wanted to do, he'd have to get across the river to New York to do it. Sinatra wanted to sing. His parents protested. They wanted him to finish high school. But Sinatra was expelled from A.J. Demerhurst High School after 47 days. School administrators thought him lazy with no talent or ambition. To please his mother, he enrolled at Drake Business School, but left after 11 months. For a time, he worked as a delivery boy for the Jersey Observer, as a shipyard riveter, and for his girlfriend, Nancy Barbados' father. Sinatra later told author Pete Hamill, as a teenager he discovered that the instrument wasn't really his voice, but the microphone. After dropping out of high school, he had nothing to lose. He wanted to be a singer, and knew he had to get on the radio.
You don't have to sing for money.
No,
you don't need the concert money.
I don't have to work, no.
No.
But first of all, I enjoy what I do. If I didn't, then I wouldn't be doing it. I enjoy it because it's a challenge for me also. And, you know, I'm considered an over-the-hill performer now at my age. And there's no doubt about it that I think in the industry I'm considered an over-the-hill performer. But I do it because I do the best I can when I work. And I don't work that much. I'd rather do benefits and have more fun doing that than going in. If I work in Vegas or Atlantic City. That's where I work. The only place. I go into saloons. Because it's...
Oh, but you do concert tours too?
Well, I do occasionally.
Hall.
Yeah, I do a Carnegie Hall, but that's rare.
You think you're an over-the-hill? Do you classify yourself that way?
Oh, sure. Because when you think about what's selling today, who are the people who are known by millions of people? The younger people are. Not any of us anymore. They know who we were, and they know who we are by people discussing us. Or maybe if I did a concert somewhere and a family took their 18-year-old daughter or son to hear you, then they get to hear you, but depends upon what they're looking at. I mean, they're looking at the guys with the guitars and all of the noise. So that's not what we have, you know.
Dolly eventually gave in and bought him a $65 sound system that included a microphone. He even had a car. The neighborhood musicians began to flock to him.
It wasn't never a question of money in those days. It really wasn't. If you had enough to live on, everything seemed right. We were growing. Everybody was pulling for each other and hoping to grow. The team effort was important in those days.
Sinatra won an amateur contest at a state theater in New Jersey. In April of 1935, he convinced the Jersey City radio station, WAAT, to give him 15 minutes of unpaid weekly airtime. He took along friend, Manny Galizio, who'd soon be playing on Sinatra's records. Dolly leaned hard on Joseph Samperi, the owner of the Union Club, an expensive Jersey night spot. Samperi hired Frank to sing. The club, however, didn't have a remote hookup to any radio station for band shows, so Sinatra convinced Fred Tamburo, James Petrozelli, and Pat Principe, 3 neighborhood guys who were singing as the Three Flashes, to let him join their group. Every weekend, the Flashes traveled north to perform with Harold Arden and his orchestra at a Western-style nightclub on the Jersey Palisades called the Rustic Cabin. Frank was the designated driver, a 1934 Chrysler convertible. The job didn't pay much, but it had a radio hookup to WNEW. They were getting on the air. One Friday night, while the Flashes were taking 5, a man approached and handed the quartet a business card. It belonged to Major Bowles, whose original amateur hour was the hottest thing on radio. The Major wanted the 4 Flashes to appear in a couple of movie shorts. But when they arrived at the shooting location on Tremont Avenue in the Bronx, they were surprised to find the short film was to be a minstrel show. Frank played a waiter in blackface. When Major Bowes saw the footage, he immediately sent for the Flashes.
This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.
And now, here is Major Bowes.
All right. Thank you, Graham, and good evening, friends. We start the
He wanted them for his amateur hour radio program,
around she goes,
changing the group's name to the Hoboken Four.
Nobody knows.
They premiered
Now first,
on September 8th, 1935.
The Hoboken Four. Just think of I don't know. They seem so happy, I guess, and it's everybody else happy. Tell me, where do you work in Hoboken?
Well, I work at a silk mill.
I see.
There's Toddy here with the page in the curb mark.
I see. And what about the other one?
Well, Jimmy, he's in his father's ice cream parlor. This fella here never worked at all.
All right. What do you want to sing or dance or whatever it is you do?
Well, we're going to sing Shine, and then we're going to dance.
All right. Let's have it. Hoboken Four.
The Hoboken Four won the contest and went on tour for the Major's vaudeville circuit. Sinatra was paid $12.50 per week, from which he had to pay his own expenses.
I will. I'm Frank, Major. We're looking for jobs. How about it? Everyone that's ever heard us liked us. We think we're pretty good. And we play real swing music, too.
Real modern swing music, ultra-modern music. What's your tune?
The Chorus of an Aching Heart.
The Four mostly lived in YMCAs, cheap rooming houses, and fleabag hotels, eating at lunch counters. By mid-December, soon after his 20th birthday, Sinatra broke from the tour and went back to Hoboken, just in time for Christmas. In 1936, Frank Sinatra began exploring every conceivable singing opportunity in North Jersey. He did $2 a night gigs at the Elks Club, worked again at the Cat's Meow and the Union Club, and he took his mic back to WAAT in Jersey City. Music was in transition. The rise of the radio and phonograph changed the music industry. Power had shifted to the band leaders. Singers could find work from Tin Pan Alley producers, but there were few solo vocalists. Sinatra soon met 2 Tin Pan Alley song pluggers, Hank Sanicola and Jimmy Van Heusen. Sanicola would go on to work with Sinatra into the 1960s, and Van Heusen would compose music for every medium, winning an Emmy and 4 Academy Awards. Manhattan in the mid-30s was a hotbed for great jazz. Jimmy Dorsey played the New Yorker Hotel. Tommy Dorsey and Artie Shaw played the Hotel Pennsylvania. There was Leon and Eddie's, the Famous Door, and the Onyx Club. Fats Waller, Art Tatum, Count Basie, and Louis Prima all played. Sinatra loved the smaller clubs, where he could hear Ethel Waters, Louis Armstrong, Mabel Mercer, and Billie Holiday. Here, he learned to tap into his soul.
You've got to be on the ball from the minute you step out into that spotlight. You've got to know exactly what you're doing every second on that stage. Otherwise, the act goes right into the bathroom. It's all over. Good night.
He spent nights at those clubs strictly as a spectator, while dogging radio stations like WAAT, WOR, and WNEW. They'd occasionally let him sing for free. Frank's cousin Ray, who was an arranger for the NBC Radio House Band, got him an audition on Fred Allen's Town Hall Tonight. Sinatra appeared on May 12, 1937.
Four sharps. Mr. Sinatra, are you in the mood for a bit of byplay, as it were?
Sure.
Wild exchange of pleasantries?
Of course.
You have an odd name. Are you related, by any chance, to Ray Sinatra?
That's right.
You are,
His
huh?
dad's cousin.
Oh, he's a cousin of yours?
That's right.
Fine. And you have your own little swing outfit here, huh?
Uh-huh.
How many pieces? 5?
There are four instrumentalists and myself.
And yourself.
That's right.
Well, 4, that's a rather small combination for swing music, isn't it?
Oh, we make it plenty loud. Don't worry about that.
Oh, you do? Well, I suppose the man on the flying trapeze, after all, got along with swing all by himself, I imagine. But I was going to ask you whether the size of a musical aggregation affected the type of swing music that the band would use. Does it? Does it make any difference whether you have 5 or 50 or 40?
Well, no, but I think more or less you must be in the mood, and we're always in the swing mood.
Oh, you're right. Well, it augurs well for us this evening, doesn't it?
That's
So
right.
so many things have happened in music. The Dixieland Jazz Band was originally, supposedly, the first jazz outfit, and jazz today is practically swing, isn't it?
That's right.
Gosh, I can remember when a band was considered hot if the drummer looked up from the music while they were playing. Gosh, they used to... Nowadays, you see a drummer with a band, he looks like a salesman at a notion counter or something. A good drummer today can play anything from a lukewarm washboard to a hot shoe tree. Well, thank you very much for your kindness, Mr. Sinatra. And now, you and your little pygmy band here, what are you going to play?
We'd like to swing exactly like you.
Exactly like, that's a song. Don't swing like me or you'll be creeping around here. Exactly like you. Thank you.
Later that year, the Rustic Cabin had an opening for a singing waiter and MC at $15 per week. The pay wasn't great, but the radio station hookup was still there. And WNEW had Dance Parade, a new broadcast featuring the Cabin's band and singer. Dolly Sinatra called the mayor of North Bergen, Harry Steeper, who was a good friend of James C. Petrillo, the head of the American Federation of Musicians. Sinatra got the job.
You just heard Frank Sinatra